Meeting of October 29th, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Aliano.
Here.
Board Member Insua is absent. Board Member Palmer.
Here.
Board Member Simonian is also absent, and Chairman Yu.
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on October 22nd, 2009. Oral communications. I do not have any speaker cards for oral communications.
I do not either.
And this leads us to the items on the agenda. There is one staff announcement, and I'd like to turn this over to Stephanie Reich.
Good evening, Chair, board members. I actually have two staff announcements. Howard Malis, Principal Planner, will be joining us for our meetings from now on. Howard has been with the city for many years, and he's our zoning code guru. All of our new planners attend Howard Malis's College of Zoning Knowledge. So we look to him whenever there's a question on zoning, among other things. I also wanted to update you on the City Council's discussion on October 20th. We reported to them the results of our discussions with you and also with Design Review Board number 2. We forwarded to them the recommendations that you made, and they were very positive about the progress of the Design Review Boards over the past year and a half since we've been implementing their adjustments. They did accept almost all of the changes that you proposed, with the exception of one change. We had proposed, or you had proposed, to appoint one or two board members to help staff in working with applicants when there's some disagreement about how to implement conditions or when there's some change during the permitting process or during construction. The council did not go with that recommendation, although they did allow staff to have the authority to bring back a project when there's some disagreement that the applicant is not complying with the DRB approved plans. So all of the other recommendations that you made, we will be bringing back to the council to make the code changes that we need to make, including the one where the board has asked for the ability to have a third hearing. Now, that's at the board's discretion only, that if the board believes a project is going in the right direction but does not feel compelled to approve the project on its second review, the board could ask for a hearing. So that discussion in full is cataloged online, like all of our others, as well as the staff report. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. We done? Welcome to DRB number 1. We have one case on the board, and get straight to it. Let's see.
Actually,
one PDR You have
If you don't mind, yes,
Go ahead.
the first case on tonight's agenda is actually case number 1-PDR 2009-016B. This project is for 1510 Majestic Way. The project, due to issues regarding the story poles, is being continued for 2 weeks to November the 12th, and so it is being continued to a date certain. It will not be renoticed, but it will be heard on November the 12th.
Okay, thank you.
Which leads us to essentially
The
the
last.
next and last case on tonight's agenda, which is 1-PDR.
Billy, excuse me, point of order. I think they need to vote whether to continue the item or not.
Yes.
Oh, we do.
Is there a motion to continue
Thank you, Mr.
1510
Downs.
Majestic Way?
I move to continue.
I have a motion by Board Member Palmer, a second.
Second.
Board Member Aliano, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 3-0 to continue. Okay, so back to the case at hand. 1-PDR 2009-028-B. This would be for the demolition of the existing 3 single-story individual buildings at the corner of 350 North Glendale Boulevard, and to construct an approximately 8,900 square foot new commercial building with 36 at-grade parking spaces. There is also a sign program accompanying this particular design review board project submittal for the new building, and what I'd like to do is to take that as a complete package, and then you can then vote on the design review board for the building and the design review board for the sign program at the very end of the discussion.
Okay.
As you probably read, the staff report was rather detailed and lengthy. I'd like to just go ahead and give a very brief overview at this point in time. Essentially, the new, just under 9,000 square foot single-story project utilizes a variety of roof forms and architectural details and building heights that add visual interest. It has been brought directly to the street front setback. The massing of the distinctly rounded building corner and its unique roof line is really counterbalanced at the north end by the southerly portion of the building with its taller rectangular building forms. There were essentially 5 conditions and considerations. This project was last reviewed on June 11th, at which time the board voted to return for redesign. If you'd like, I can go into greater detail regarding those conditions and considerations. The first one was to address the urban design guidelines by providing activity other than parking at the street intersection corner of the property, as well as along Glendale Avenue for a more active and pedestrian-friendly frontage. You'll notice behind you, let me just quickly fill up. The plans on here would be the previous ones presented on June the 11th. You'll notice here, these are the revised drawings based on the board's direction. Again, the comment was to activate the street presence. The buildings have been moved closer to the street edge, and the 36 parking spaces have been relocated behind the building. The second was to re-examine the one-way traffic circulation and location of the parking lot. The applicant has returned with a revised project that features two-way parking or two-way directional circulation as well as parking behind the building. The third comment was to update the design of the project with a more contemporary 21st century look. There is a greater potential for more interesting design and site planning at this location. You'll notice that the previous 3 buildings that were to be maintained as part of the project have been completely demolished. As such, there was a blank canvas. The applicant came back with a very contemporary look, and that was specifically in regards to the previous board's comments of take a look at the modern building that was catty corner to this particular project site. The 2 other items that were mentioned were actually board's consideration. One is to consider removing one or more of the buildings to allow reconsideration of the project site. As you'll notice, the buildings are being proposed for demolition, and a brand new building is proposed. And the last one was to refer to the additional comments and suggestions provided by the board during their last discussion, which were rather lengthy. And you'll notice that many of the board's previous comments regarding the site planning, the architectural details, have been addressed in this particular plan. Staff supports the revised project. We do have 5 conditions that we'd like to suggest to the board. Or actually 6. One would be to provide the required 5.5-foot masonry wall along the rear property line abutting the residential zone. And this is to buffer essentially the residential properties as well as the nursery school behind it. The second was to construct the required trash can enclosure or trash enclosure in the same material as the rear decorative masonry wall, or something along the lines of the same finish and color as the building so as to be better integrated within the project. The third comment was to relocate the trees proposed for planting in the private landscape planters, or that the 2 proposed street trees be moved so as to not be in conflict with the growing canopies of the street trees. Fourth comment was to ensure that all proposed landscaping be drought tolerant as listed in the Be Waterwise website. Fifth was to submit a landscape lighting plan and details for review and approval by the staff prior to building plan check. And the last was to eliminate all existing unused curb cuts. That would conclude staff's presentation regarding the actual project design for the building. You'll notice as part of your packet you also received a sign program. The sign program includes specific wall signs and 1 proposed freestanding sign for the project themselves. Staff has reviewed the proposed wall signs. They are compatible with the architectural style of the building and have been very responsive to the board's previous comments that the designs be integrated. There was one comment that was made that given the location of the building so close to the street edge, whether or not the freestanding pole sign is really necessary. That is one of the considerations that was presented to the board as part of 4 items, actually, at the end. And if you like, I can read over the recommendations for the sign program. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like I'm getting nods,
No,
but
let's
it's
go
not
through the
necessary
sign.
to read over the staff's considerations.
Yeah, let's go through the signage ones that you're talking about.
Okay. Staff would support approval of the sign program with 4 conditions. One would be to refine the proposed font styles to prohibit italic fonts. There was, if you'll notice on the elevation drawings, several of the signs had italic fonts. To be more consistent, staff is proposing eliminating the italic fonts altogether and just having straightforward font. The second was to amend the color palette to only include specific colors. At this point in time, there was the staff's, or the sign program itself had blue, red, and, forgive me, they had 3 colors permitted, blue, red, and white. Staff made the suggestion that black and gray be added to the color palette and that the shades of the blue and the red be specified prior for submittal and as part of the sign program. The third comment by staff was to limit the size of the national logos to 2 feet by 2 feet, and that the national logo signs would be excluded from the other sign requirements of the sign program, meaning colors, lettering, whatnot. And then last was to consider eliminating the pole signs from the sign program.
Okay.
That concludes staff's modified brief staff presentation. The architect, Danny Lord, is in the audience as well as the property owners.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? I actually have a question.
Yes.
Do we have a materials board?
I apologize. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Go get it. I'll be right back.
Okay, thanks. Then while she does that, we can continue and see. We'll start off with our cards. Danny Lord, if you could please come up and State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Danny Lord. I'll architect the project. My address is 4488 Estrando Drive, Encino. And we revised the project according to the board's suggestion and the recommendation. I do believe we have a better solution now in front of you for approval. And as the staff read all the detail of the project, and I have read all the conditions to the project, we have no problem with all the conditions. And if there's any other additional question your board has, I'm here available to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the architect?
Yeah, I was curious about the paving. What are you using for the paving? The ground, the paving outside?
Paving outside is, as the drawing says, it's a texture. It's a colored with a glass.
So the
concrete.
stripes are actually...
The stripe, yeah.
Actually. So texture with the glass...
With the groove lines as well.
Okay.
Right, that's just a hatch, right? That's not the actual...
Yeah, that's not the pattern, right?
Right.
There's no pattern. That's
Kind of
just...
crazy.
Just lines. Just lines.
But are they square or diagonal?
There's a diagonal, as the
So
drawing
the
shows.
lines that are
Also,
shown...
these are real lines of what you're proposing?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then you probably have some lines that go perpendicular to these or somewhere, because you got to have panels of concrete to eliminate cracks, right?
Yes, that
So
would
there'll
be,
be some-
that would be not just lines, not like the groove. It's
Okay.
lines, but not a groove.
Okay.
The one that I show is a groove.
And is it saw cut?
It's not saw cut.
Oh,
it's a
it's
groove. It's a
tooled?
V groove.
Okay.
We, in our working drawing, we're going to show a detail.
Okay.
On the backside of Building B, are those bollards or are those columns? What are those?
Excuse me.
On the backside, east side
Yes.
of Building B, are those bollards or columns or what are those?
Oh no, it's a bolt
They're bollards.
for
okay.
against the car back to hit the building.
Okay, so they're not columns. Okay.
No, it's a protection.
So per the square footage that's provided, 36 is exactly what you need, right?
That's
Parking-wise?
correct.
Okay. And let's see. I'm assuming there's a curb here, right? Or is it-
Yes, it's curved, but diminished at the handicap location to the left.
Diminished?
Yeah, it's a curb along the 5-foot sidewalk.
But here, this is all...
Yeah, that's a flat there.
So it
that's
starts
flat.
tapering up? Maybe this is lower than this.
I have marked this elevation difference on various locations. You can see.
This is marked 603?
Yeah, those are the elevations.
Same here.
Well, this is 603.
Okay, so
This
it's
is
a zero
this is
curve here then.
602.
So
Yeah,
you got
that,
zero curve here.
This is
Yeah,
603.
that's flat right there.
There's a curve here, but there can be a curve there.
Okay.
Oh, that'll work.
No, that's fine.
And there's steps here. Right? But that's a trellis, okay.
What material is this here? The white
I
band.
have mark on the elevation.
Oh.
You can see us.
Mr. Lord, would you mind either
Yo, you can
either
come up.
coming up? Do you mind coming up to the actual board themselves? Thank you.
Sorry.
I have an 8. This is number 8.
No, 8 is your door though.
Huh?
You see, 8 is your middle door.
Oh, then I make a mistake. Okay. Middle door? I'm talking about the color.
Material, color, whatever
Yeah,
you
I
want.
talk about
Yeah.
color is all white. It's same as the door.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, what is the material?
The material is stucco.
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 For this?
Yeah.
For that?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So that's this piece right here.
Right. On top, I have the sheet metal. Top.
So
this
stucco,
is-
and then it
Faces
turns into
So
stucco
this is
here.
another metal fascia, I see. What does it look underneath?
And it's
Plaster.
stucco. Plaster, yeah.
Plaster.
Plaster. Cement plaster. Still white color.
Okay. What is this here?
It's a hole. It's
What's it for?
It's a too big a mess. Too big a mess. I like to make the hole you can see through.
So that will be right.
That's in the back, somewhere here. I don't want the neighbors to see a big giant.
So then you would see the backside of the curb.
That's
Yeah,
right. But people's eye, you couldn't see too
Right,
much.
but I mean, it's pretty big. And that's what these are too. These are holes.
Those are little holes. Yes.
Okay.
They don't show up on the rendering.
Yeah, that's in the back.
Holes would be here, right?
Oh, you should be in there. But later on, we did that one before. Then this we added.
So the reason for the hole is why? Just
To
to...
add to the interesting of the building. Papa will do some windows.
Very little. Huh?
Joking.
The plans we received
Yeah.
have a little section right in here that looks like paving. Is that just a vision?
Let me see. That was a mistake. Should be out.
That's gone?
There's nothing.
His computer didn't read.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was a raised area.
Okay, I think
Can I
that's
ask you
it.
a question? Would you be opposed if we said that we didn't... We kind of like the way the render... What would you think of that?
If you make a suggestion, we'll follow.
Well,
Okay.
Make sure we don't do anything that... So you're...
Is this basically the same height as this here? Just taken all the way across?
Let me see. Yeah, this is 28. Yes.
That's how it's derived?
That point.
Okay. Pretty high parapet. Usually when you do your stucco, are you going to have review?
Yeah, you see,
Straight.
this proportion is, if I have a narrow portion, I need a cut line. But this is square area I do not need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you tell us what the walls were? The material for the rear wall and the trash area?
It's stucco.
Oh, no, on the
The
mason,
wood.
on the wall.
The wall itself?
Which one?
This wall here, wall going across the back.
This wall will be stucco now because the staff recommendation, same as the
Is there
building.
a shadow
so-
line, or is there a cap or anything?
You have to have cap.
But we don't have a detail of that
No,
yet.
that's just a recommendation. We're going to follow
Okay.
it.
One other question. You're calling this a railing.
It's
Is that screening, though?
it's a metal, or so you cannot see through.
Right, because you have the mechanical units behind.
Yes, that's the purpose.
Right.
That's the purpose.
Okay.
Are your planter walls the same material as your wall in the back? Is that stucco?
Yeah, it's a stucco.
Other stucco than your surface stucco?
This is the same as surface.
This core in place concrete?
This color and this color should be the same color.
Will be?
Yeah,
Or
it
should
will be.
Okay.
Should too.
Okay, well, they're not. Okay, so that's just going to be stucco, huh?
Yes, it's true stucco. To match the color.
Which material was that? We
Planter?
missed that.
He's saying it's stucco, so.
Call these out as wrought iron. Are these-
They're louvers of some sort.
It's kind of a metal screen behind.
But it's not wrought iron.
It's not. No.
I read wrought iron, because wrought iron means like little pieces of metal.
No, you don't see through. I have a piece of metal.
Is it the middle? No.
With
have
the
a
metal
material-
face,
Oh, there it
I
is.
said, this number 6.
I don't know what middle face is. What is
It's a piece of metal I put in behind us. The spring off all the.
So the color's going to be closer to this, right? Not this purple?
That's correct.
That's more of a graphic.
That's the
Okay.
span drawing, that's the clear glass.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then that's the frame,
That's the frame of the
the
window.
windows. And this is for the building, but are you going to use the same texture for this?
Yes.
It's not going to look good at all.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. Okay,
Right. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I have one other card. Laura Kopczynski, please, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Laura Kopczynski.
Kopczynski,
I am-
sorry.
Okay. I am the owner and director of the property to the east of it, the nursery school. And thank you, first of all, for being here and listening to us. I have just a few concerns, once again, that I would like to raise. As board is aware, I have 24 children there, and the times that we are outside playing are from 11 to 1 every day. So my first concern is during the demolition and construction, of course, the safety for the kids. Right now, that back wall is very crucial to keeping my kids safe. So something will need to be in place when that comes down so that the kids can't escape or that they're safe. So that's my first one. My second concern is, once again, the location of the trash. I understand why it is there, but it seems to me that it is right on the property line. There's no setback. There's no space. We all know the smells that are associated with trash. We also, once again, know the safety that I am going to push for. I was happy to hear that the wall is going to go the length of the property line. If I understand that correctly, if it could be clarified?
Yes.
Helpful if I turn this on. Yes, the property line wall is a code requirement, and it must go the entire length of the property line where it's abutting a residential zone, and it has to be a minimum feet high.
And is there any way I could request that it be 6 feet?
Oh, you can always request.
Okay.
There's that request. The plans weren't real specific on that wall going all the way through, so I needed to ask. As far as the landscaping on the back, it looks beautiful. I would just also like to see maybe some evergreens, something that doesn't shed a lot. Obviously, that would in turn put a lot in the back, in my backyard. Also that it's, whatever it is, that it's not poisonous to the children. I heard you addressing the issue of the metal rails on the back of the building, and Mr. Lord said that they were screened, that you could not see through. I don't understand the purpose of it, and/or if the air conditioning units are behind it, or what they were for. Yes, the air conditioning
They're
units
to
are
screen,
behind it.
yes.
My last point is on, just a note, they are relocating the water hydrant from the Lexington side.
Those are my issues. Okay. Thank you. Those are the only cards that I have. Is there anyone else that would like in the project?
Is that a no? 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 Okay. Maybe later. Okay, thank you. Then we'll close the public session and we'll start discussions. Would you like to get us started?
Sure. Well, I missed the last review, obviously, but there's, just by looking at the drawing, there's been quite a bit of improvement from that scheme to this one. I have to say, I really like what you've done. I think it's a really nice project. I like the small-scale nature of it, and I like the bold curve form at the corner. I think that's a really nice statement for that corner because of the geometries that are there. A curve like that, I believe, works really well. And I also like the way you've contrasted that bold form with more simple, sort of rectilinear other portion of the project to the south. The tight space between the two buildings, I think is fine. You show that there's a trellis. We don't quite see what that's going to be like, but I'm assuming it's made out of wood or something that's painted. I don't know that you need a trellis there because there's going to be so much shade that maybe just the tension between the two buildings is enough. But that's I'm not going to ask you to remove it if you feel strongly about it. I think it should be fine. And I really agree with the way the paving using a really nice material, a nice finished concrete with the glass seating of glass is nice. At first, I thought the landscaping mass that you have, right, where the two buildings join. I thought that was really not maybe the right place to put landscaping because to me, I feel like this is really where people might want to congregate because it's the longest distance. But I can see that these are the point of entry here. Maybe people can still move this way, congregate there. Maybe this planter could be shaped differently. Maybe it could be more, maybe some seating, some benches behind there, so that this becomes a really nice place for people to hang out. You already have it here. You have some tenants already, but throughout the years, tenants tend to move out, and it could be something else here or something else there. So I think these kinds of spaces should be left sort of open and flexible, so whoever uses the space can extend their use there to the patio in the front. I don't quite understand the jogs. Maybe this, because it kind of pinches a little bit, so spatially it may not be nice. We can't really tell on the rendering. The rendering is nice. You have to kind of look at the plan to see what that really means. Should this maybe be something a little bit more generous? They're just comments. They're not requirements, but the material board, I guess, shows that as a black. That's black, right? Is the frames. And there's really something nice about the brown, or this sort of rust color that you have there.
Well, this is a bronze, so it's a bronze.
It's bronze, but it's kind of really like black. I think,
it's pretty dark.
I really like the way the beige, this sort of off-white, with this sort of rust, very dark rust, almost brown, look together. It has a very nice earthy feeling. So you might want to consider that because you could get. The thing is, if you get painted frames, you got to be careful with the color because you don't always get the color that you want. So it may end up that you'll, with the bronze, and I think you'll be able to find something like that. But it's something to consider because that rendering really, me, I think, has a really nice appeal. This sort of brownish, earthy color. We'll talk about the signage, but I think the sign that troubles me is the pole. I don't know that you really need it because there's so much signage on the buildings already that it's sort of an overkill, and it's sort of, I think it confuses all of this. having this thing in the middle there. But graphically, I think it takes away from the building. What else can I say about the elevations? I think it's well worked out. I mean, I'm very pleased with what I see here. Just the exception of the comments that I made, if you would consider some of these things. I understand the back quite well. I understand what you're trying to do here with the screening of the metal screening for the units so that the neighbors don't get to see them. And I think that way you still also get some air to circulate because you probably need it for the it might be nice if there's a way to put some landscaping pockets here to sort of do that, but I'm not sure. I suppose you could do some lines or something. Leave that to Judy. Turn next. It's only 3 of us. I do, when you came up here and you talked about this, I do have some concerns about that overhang. I think just my experience from seeing a lot of stucco overhangs like that, they don't age very well, and they're very tough to pull off in terms of aesthetically to make them look really nice and pristine. So I think, you could probably find another solution. You could clad all this, the fascia and the ceiling. Although the ceiling I'm not as concerned, you could also have that an acrylic plaster will look really nice. But it's the fascia that I'm more concerned about, to keep it as flat and as smooth as possible. And you could do it with just painted sheet metal. I mean, you get a nice 20 gauge or even 20 gauge sheet metal. You could get just, paintable sheet metal and do a really nice finish. Because, and then the ceiling you can do I would do a smooth acrylic plaster, not the La Habra, texture. I think that's a concern that I think for me it would have to be a requirement because it takes away. I mean, he does such a nice job with everything else, and then this particular detail, it'd be nice to get it just right. So I think that would work if you could do that. The other thing that I want to point out is that I said it earlier, I really like the way the rendering looks. I mean, this bold form with no fussiness about it. Just a beautiful curve with this glass that's been cut out and an overhang. To me, those are the main elements, the curve, the glass, and the overhang. I think these little holes, for me, I think it takes away. And I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to refine it and make it a little bit more interesting, but I don't think you really need it. I really think that's a better solution. Plus, it saves the client money because you don't have to worry about detailing all these little boxes. So from a cost standpoint, I think it would be a plus, aesthetically as well. Did I cover everything? I think I did for now, and I always jump in, right? Okay, great, but good job. I will support the project. It's very nicely done. Next.
I also agree that it's a very nice project. I think it's going to complement the whole corner area there. I agree with all the previous comments, and I feel pretty strongly about eliminating those little holes.
Yeah.
Because I think the rendering looks very good. One thing that hasn't been brought up, now that the parking is in the rear elevation really doesn't address. You're not going to have everybody coming through that little 5-foot corridor in the center. And if people park back there, I'm assuming they could come in the back door, but there's no signage, there's no color differentiation, and you're going to have more people coming in the back than the front. So I think maybe that could be addressed because you're going to have people trying different doors all over the place. And as far as landscaping in the back, I don't think there's any room to have a 1-foot planter or something. It's not going to do much. I agree also that the pole sign should probably not be in there. It takes away from the simplicity and elegance of the building. And the other comment would be the landscaping, I think, should have all the trees are deciduous, so I think that back area buffering her property should probably be evergreen trees instead of deciduous. And that the location, I think staff had a comment about the proximity of the trees on site with the street trees. Where they show the street trees, you already have mature street trees of the same variety proposed, but they're in different locations if you look at the overhead map. So I'm not sure why they're being moved or the mature ones removed.
According to Maintenance Services, they made a comment regarding the two street trees that are to be replaced, essentially, and then they would be moved. If it's up to the board, again, this is on the public right-of-way, so the board would have the ability to condition the trees that are actually on the private property. We can then also work with the Maintenance Services Department in regards to the actual street trees themselves. But
I think the trees on the property are fine, but the street trees are going to be a problem, especially with that paving surface that they have. They're jacarandas. They're not quite located where they show them, but they're going to be dropping black sap. And I think that's going to be a real maintenance issue. So if they are going to relocate and remove, I think we should go to another variety of street tree for that area, if that's possible.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, the jacarandas are the official street tree for Glendale Boulevard in that area.
Well, maybe they don't put them right where the large paving area is.
Okay.
But where they propose is not where they are now, so maybe that needs to be worked out. And I would also have staff look at that plant palette, because I think a lot of it on there is not necessarily the water-wise.
And that's why we specified this, that as a condition of approval of the project, that all landscaping be compatible and consistent with the bewaterwise.com list.
And I think those are my only comments. But I think I would too support the project. I think it's a very nice job.
So to be clear about the trees, you're asking that if the street trees are relocated, they're relocated to be closer to or above where there are planter areas planned?
Well, the trees they have proposed on site, I think works nicely. But right now, the tree, the jacaranda, is down here. The other one is in here. I don't think that's a bad location, so I think they could stay where they are, and it doesn't affect the paving up in this area. And I also would like to make sure staff sees a detail of the wall for the trash and the back wall.
That is a specific condition of approval that was suggested in the staff report. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I also think it's a vast improvement from the last scheme. I think the things that we did go over on that last things were taken to heart, and you did, make a very good effort into satisfying those. I'm okay with the project as an overall. I think there's some things that I would like to see be improved, but that's something that can be worked out. The couple of things that I would agree with are the little cutouts. I think eliminating those, I think will make that a better facade there. The overhang on the rounded building, I think, needs to be some kind of metal or something a little more refined than the stucco. I think that it's not going to look very good there. Let's see. And the other thing is, these sort of large parapeted spaces at the corners, I'm okay with the proportions. I think that they look okay. It's just I'm worried what they do as they turn the corner. When we're looking at this elevation straight on, 28 feet makes sense. We drew that in. But as soon as we start coming up this corner and we see that it's only this wide, it loses sort of the appeal of it and what it is. It's almost like a Hollywood prop set that's been put up, and then as we turn the corner, we're like, oh, look, it's put up by 2x4s or something, So I think we need to extend this further out to match the proportion of this, so it gives a nice mass to it as we're turning the corner. And the same thing from this side. If we're only seeing like 4 feet going back and then a 10-foot span on the front, it loses the massing of it and sort of the character of that corner. The same thing with this. There's nothing on this side of it. It's very thin. So we need to take a look at this here. But then the opposite happens almost here, where this thing turns a corner in a 5-foot alley, and it maintains its 28-foot height, and so it becomes very claustrophobic in there. And so, those things, I think it could be worked out. You could work that stuff out. It would just be my suggestion that, make it a nice place to come into and, circulate through. It's going to be there, and people are going to come to this place because they want to hang out there and, spend money there. So I would say, look into the trellis thing. It's very narrow there. And also be careful that you're not cutting out buildings and shaping them because of the parking requirement. I mean, it looks like this used to be here, and then the parking, oh no, we need another 4 feet, or let's just chop off the corner. You know, it affects the building more than you think it would, you know, when you're looking at it in plan. And, I mean, let's say if you did chop this thing out, and this thing extended it out 5 feet, you probably gain more square footage here if you added it here instead of chopping, you know, a little corner off of it. But, I mean, those are just small things that I wanted to point out to you. Not that maybe you don't need the extra square footage, but, you know, those are just small things that it would create a cleaner line for this building and this building by just chopping that and flipping it. But I agree with you. The sign, I think, it needs to go. I think it doesn't go well because it's not addressed in the. It's sort of just it's there, and then we put this building around it, and that's what it happens to be. But I think if it was addressed and made something out of, there'd be some argument to keeping it. But the planter wall, I think, you know, they say stucco, but I think we should take a look at it. What kind of, because that is a very prominent part of the elevation as it goes through. I mean, I won't make this a requirement, but I think maybe try to take that sort of brow piece and maybe put a little bit of it in there to give it a little more refinement, because that is such a tall space with the window and the big forehead on top of it. So maybe break that up a little bit better. All in all, I think it's, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know what to do with that hole in the material. I mean, all in all, it's a much better project, and I think with some of those refinements that I talked about, I think I'd be okay with supporting the project for it. So,
One other thing to add, actually. One thing that I forgot to talk about is the trash. And I think there's, you know, the neighbor has a very good point.
where do you put it?
Well, I've been looking at the site plan, and there are ways to do it, I think, because it's really about, this corner takes up about 1 parking spot. So let's say that you take this trash area and you put a parking spot there. You're adding a parking spot there, and you just have to take it out either somewhere here or somewhere there. I would say this is a very odd place already, and I wonder whether, I guess that's probably, I think that might be required because it's close to the
you
wall.
need that for that turning radius,
And you have the 8 foot for a van and all that. So I don't know if you can lay out a trash enclosure here with gates here so you can slide them out, because you got more length here, or as much length there as you have here, and you're showing about 4 bins. I think that needs to be solved because that's kind of a prominent area. It's right next to the neighbors, and it's just not a great thing. Plus, I think by adding a parking spot here, now you've increased your landscaping as well, because now you can actually bring all of this landscaping all the way around to a really nice buffer zone there for the neighbor. I wonder whether it could be.
Chairman,
By
you?
putting it there, you're almost getting a parking stall and a half with that triangular piece as your space. But I see what you're saying.
But once you put a parking spot there, then the rest is landscaping, because you have, here's a parking spot, you put one right there, there's a parking spot right there. So, and they're overlapping, I think they're overlapping, yeah, they're using
Yeah, they're using
Green
the space. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's something they can work out with the planners.
Actually, do you mind if I come up to the board?
Yeah.
This particular area was under great discussion with Tom Mitchell, with Traffic and Transportation, the architect, and myself. We had
He wants it
numerous
close
meetings.
to the street.
Unfortunately, the way of the angling of the property line, first of all, you would not be able to have a parallel parking spot simply because by backing out, you would be backing out onto public right-of-way, which is not permitted. Tom Mitchell also said that you would not allow for angled parking lot to be parallel to the street property line simply because that would be too much of a forced angle to get into space in that direction. That is the reason why they specifically chose this area for their trash enclosure, because Tom Mitchell, the Traffic and Transportation Administrator, prohibited parking both at the parallel and then along the angle in this particular location. I would want to mention that code does require a 5-foot setback, so we would have to have this trash enclosure set back 5 feet from the rear property line. It would also then have to be landscaped, so it
So
would
there'll
be
be a
screened.
screen, okay.
There will be screening, so they will have to relocate the trash enclosure a little further from the parking, or from the rear property line. But essentially, this would not be able, though it's a wonderful idea, and the applicant actually came to us with that idea, and staff was in full support. Traffic and Transportation Administrator relayed as to the reasoning behind why it could not happen.
Now, did they have enough opening there to get the bins out? Because it's just a little door. If there's a parked car there, how are they going to get the trash out?
They would essentially, there is enough space that they have a 5-foot wide minimum doorway span, so they would be able to roll out the bins.
I won't park in that spot when I go there.
Just remember. So.
You lost the customer already.
But that's the reason why. I mean, it's a great suggestion, and that was entertained by all parties. But unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, we've discussed it, and that was the decision.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
I have one more minor comment, and it's just regarding the irrigation.
Yes.
All these planter areas are rather small, like 5 feet, 6 feet. You could probably save, since we are water-wise, these probably, half of it's already done in bubblers. I would suggest the whole thing be done in bubblers, and we eliminate the spraying and the height of the plant material. You're going to have it spraying back onto the patio area. So I would just prefer to have the whole thing in bubblers and eliminate a lot of problems.
Okay. Now, I have a number of comments.
Okay.
Would you?
Let's go through the comments. Let's go through the comments, and then I'll let them answer anything if they wanted to come back up. So.
I want to grab my paperwork. Now,
just so it reads as a mass up there. Just.
You could do that.
Especially that corner, like where you pointed to first. You're coming up on Glendale.
The back is not so tall. Back is a little higher.
While Vilya is looking through her notes, I have a question for Chairman Yu.
Okay.
You mentioned about the space between the buildings being a better space and more refined. If you would like for that to be one of the conditions of approval, we would need further direction on that.
Right. No, I wouldn't put it as a condition. A recommendation on.
And I guess we also didn't understand the nature of the recommendation. So would it be that space is made wider, more inviting?
I'll leave it up to them.
Okay.
I don't think it's a great space, so they can do
Okay.
whatever they want to improve it. So.
Okay, thank you.
with that said, going back to the staff reports, 5 conditions listed by staff. First one was to provide a minimum 5.5-foot high decorative masonry wall along the interior property line abutting the residential zone to the east. Okay?
And there was a request to try to make it 6. And
Which the board can.
We can ask them if that's something they'll agree to. So. Okay?
That's something that the...
I said, no problem.
So it would be provide a minimum of 6-foot high decorative masonry wall. Second one was to construct the required trash enclosure in the same material as the rear decorative masonry wall, or with the same finish and color as the building edge closest to the trash enclosure.
Okay.
The third comment was to relocate the trees proposed for planting in private landscaping planters, or the 2 street trees proposed for replacement, so as to not be in conflict with the growing canopies of the street trees.
So the recommendation is to move them to a different location so they're not right behind the street trees.
It would be to relocate.
But they're not there. The street trees, as they show them, are in reality
Well, let's look at the...
not there.
The aerial? Oh, excuse me, 1 second. If you...
These are the 3
Yeah,
properties.
it's way on the right,
This
huh?
is way over here, and there's one right here. So on the plan,
So-
we're basically That one has to come out.
Correct. They're relocating the two existing trees. And to where they're relocating it is right there, and essentially the proposal, and forgive me if I didn't make that clear, those should actually be relocated to be more in keeping with the location of the outdoor spaces and the proposed trees in the planter boxes.
I don't know if they're proposed these because there's a minimum distance driveway areas, but these are really very close together.
Exactly. And so, no, they need to relocate the two existing street trees, but the specified locations where they're proposing should actually be then further proposed for relocation.
They shouldn't be on the sidewalk. Right now, they're on their property.
No, the street trees are on the sidewalk.
Right, they're here. One here and
Yeah,
one
but
here.
they're proposing.
Yeah, those should move out.
The spacing needs to be
And they
changed.
should be moved as far down
As-
that direction to.
But I'm
mitigate-
confused. So these are the street trees, and then
Yes.
they're proposing two tree walls?
Exactly.
So they're
And that's,
lining, we don't want them
exactly.
to line up.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, those street trees, that's the new location they're proposing.
But we want them
We want to
sliding
move
down.
down. Yes.
Correct.
Right about here?
Yeah. I think it's because it covers their
Well,
signage.
this covers the signage,
Yeah,
that's
that's what
why.
they're.
Well, can these be something else? Maybe put the trees in here.
And now that if you are choosing to eliminate the pole sign, that would be a possible location
They could
for
work with
one
that.
tree.
I think a nice big tree would be kind of nice, a big canopy.
Let me ask, are they required to have the two street trees?
They are required to have two street
Since
trees.
they're
Correct.
taking two away, they have to prove that.
Correct.
I think a canopy tree in that planter would be nice.
See, so,
If they could spread them, put them in the narrowest areas where the paving, because it's going to be.
Okay. The board could entertain the idea of, they do need the two street trees. They could change their landscaping plan to have, just as what you just suggested, to have one tree in that green landscaping planner. That's a larger.
I think that's fine.
What do you think of that? So then there's just three, right?
Three's fine. Two street trees, but spread them out.
Two street trees
And
then
one center, yeah. I
three
think that's
trees.
good.
Okay. And forgive me, and I just remember this, the principal urban designer made a quick comment to me before the meeting that he had a quick suggestion that perhaps that in green space, and I was going to discuss this because this was one of the conditions that board member Aliano mentioned, in regards to revising the shape of the landscape planners. He had mentioned to me briefly that, do you mind if I?
Go.
That this planner area perhaps could be revised to be consistent with the shape of the building, and then to actually put stairs here, because that way individuals that are parking in this direction, instead of having to come in through here, people can then just use a couple stairs to go down as opposed to going around the entire corner and then
Makes
coming back.
sense.
I think that sounds
I mean,
like
that's just, that was a last minute suggestion by our
it's a
principal.
good one.
I agree with that.
But that way, you have the accessibility in this area to instead of having to go all the way around the corner, and then also the landscaping gets opened up.
The grade
To mimic.
difference isn't even that much right in that area.
And it isn't that. So it'd be one or two steps. I think they actually had that same type of proposal in the very, very first
We asked them to do it. Yeah,
reiteration
that's what we did.
for the 3-story commercial building that was proposed there.
I think that's a
So-
good comment. Okay.
Great.
So. Okay, back to our lengthy list here. Ensure that all proposed landscaping be drought tolerant, as listed in the bewaterwise.com, and I'm also going to add the bubbler comment that was made by board member Palmer. The fifth item was to submit the lighting plan in details for review and approval prior to submittal for building plan check. And the last one was to eliminate all existing used curb cuts. Now, going to the board's comments for this evening, consider revising the shape of certain landscape planners and the larger outdoor spaces, and so then I will also address the comment that we just discussed regarding possibly incorporating stairs from the Lexington and then revising the shape of the landscape planner. Another comment made was to actually the bronze aluminum windows and door frames be used as opposed to what was proposed, and that was mentioned by staff in our staff report, because based on the material board, it's the bronze aluminum. However, the elevation plan showed white
Rust.
stucco. So that would clarify that discrepancy as well.
Oh,
So-
white stucco, what do you mean?
I'm sorry, not white stucco, the white painted aluminum.
Oh,
Off-white. The elevation plans show it as being off-white, not bronze.
He was talking about the windows.
Just the windows and the door frames, correct.
oh. So the rendering, you're saying, yeah, the rendering is dark, and they have this sort of brownish frame. Is that, are we talking about the same thing?
That the window and door frames be the bronzed aluminum,
Yes.
not the off-white aluminum as
Right.
specified on the elevations.
Right, and I added a comment to that saying that if possible to get the dark closer to what the rendering
The
shows.
doors are the white.
There's a little confusion because the material board showed bronze anodized storefront, which is what is reflected in the staff report. The elevations show white painted
Yes.
aluminum. So based on what we've heard tonight, we're suggesting the bronze aluminum be the storefront system because Board Member Aliano specifically made that suggestion. We were always under the impression, because that was shown on the material board, that's what the analysis in the staff report reflects.
I think on here, the
It says that the
storefront
doors
system.
only.
Yeah, storefront is the bronze.
Right.
The doors in the back, the frames are off-white.
They're
to
just
match the
talking about-
stucco.
Okay.
That's
I
what
think
they're
it's
saying.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this note number 8 talks about the metal doors painted off-white. They're the back doors.
That goes with this stucco color.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's
The
what.
number
Okay.
4 is called out as bronze, medium
Okay,
bronze
so we are-
color. So I think they got it right. I think it's correct.
Okay, so, okay, good, we're correct. Or they're correct.
The only thing I want to add there is if there's any way they could bring that color closer to what the rendering shows, it's sort of nice dark rust, I think it would look really great.
Yeah, instead
But
of
it's-
the sky
Okay.
blue. Huh.
Of
Instead
rendering.
of the sky blue.
No, I was talking about the frames.
Oh, the frames on the
Okay, so
Yeah,
just
the frames, see that the rendering shows them more like a
That's
rust.
the glass color there too, but that's
darker, so a darker
Darker,
rust
yeah.
as opposed to the, okay. Thank you. We've covered, there was a comment made by Board Member Palmer regarding landscaping pockets for vines along the rear. Is that still something that you'd,
No?
no? Okay.
What I had said about the rear was that the trees were deciduous.
We have that down as
I
well.
didn't say- Oh,
I'm sorry, that was a comment made by Board Member Aliano.
I said those little pockets would really be too small to make
I apologize.
a difference.
Right.
That
So
was a
we
comment
yeah,
made
that's-
by Board Member Aliano, so we clarified that.
She's overrides my comment.
She's very right. There was a condition regarding the overhang, that instead of having it stucco, that it be clad, the fascia be clad in some sort of painted sheet metal, and possibly the smooth acrylic plaster be the ceiling.
Right.
Okay.
But the gauge should be pretty heavy on the sheet metal.
Okay, so a heavy, specifically a heavy gauge sheet metal.
Yeah, 20 gauge.
20 gauge?
But I don't want to give those. The architect knows what to do.
Okay.
Just heavy gauge, something that's.
Heavy gauge. Next item was to
And the
eliminate.
color of that is the off-white paint, that's fine with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
So off-white paint is fine. Would be to eliminate the punched holes on the curved parapet.
Yeah.
And that would be to present the look as depicted on the perspective drawing, not on the elevation drawing. There's now, in regards to our Board Member Palmer's comments, the rear entrance needs to be highlighted better, whether it's in terms of signage or design, whatnot. To eliminate the pole sign, which is consistent throughout all Board Members' comments, that the evergreen trees be replaced by, that the deciduous trees be replaced by the evergreens along the rear. There was also the mention made that the street trees to be relocated to locations appropriate with regards to the grass creek. Did I get that correct?
That's good.
Great. Then we go on to Board Member Yu's comments. Again, that the overhang fascia be modified, and that the rectangular elements should be extended further out in proper proportion where the elements turn the corner. There was also the mention, again, to consider redesigning the throughway between the two structures, but that might be addressed also in the comment
Right.
made by Board
It's
Member
a
Paul.
recommendation, yeah.
The recommendation. Okay. And then consider using the same material as for the fascia. That material be used also for the planters. Is that correct?
Oh,
Oh, no,
No, I
I
don't
just
think
thought
that's what you
study a different material for the planter other than the stucco.
Okay. So consider a different material.
Yeah,
Concrete might
yeah, concrete would be nice.
that would be really nice, yeah. What they have shown there, the pour in place, I mean.
Different material.
But we talked about maybe shaping that in such a way that you could have some seating on the inside.
Poured in place concrete.
Mm-hmm. Or something similar, you know.
Similar. And possibly integrate seating.
Would the poured-in-place concrete also be a recommendation for the boundary wall?
Oh, that would be very expensive. Yeah, I think CMU will be okay.
Okay. And
Decorative, unfortunately.
Yeah, they could find this some really nice CMU.
Split face
Yeah,
concrete.
or even texture, honed or Angela's block makes some really nice stuff. So
and for
I
this,
wouldn't go with split face because it's too rough for this kind of slick design.
Okay, so going back then to the condition, and this was regarding the required trash enclosure, so that the rear decorative masonry wall be a smooth,
It's a decorative block, not standard gray, just a decorative block that has
smooth decorative, but not.
they have burnished block the way you can see the aggregate. Those are very nice. There's many colors you can choose from.
and would that be also okay for the planter, or would
I
you?
think that if it's designed neatly, I think you maybe have a concrete cap with CMU. That could be nice.
Okay. And we heard a comment about the plaster. We definitely heard smooth plaster for the underside of the soffit. Was there a recommendation that the entire building be smooth plaster, or?
I'm gonna go there. I
Okay.
think it will be a little too expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
But the ceiling, the acrylic is very thin. You can get it really nice and smooth.
And then going to the sign program, again, this would be refine the proposed font styles to prohibit italic fonts, amend the color palettes,
We agree with your comment.
Specific?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have
and
any
then limit the
specific-
size of the national logos, and then instead of consider, basically eliminate the pole sign.
I think we feel pretty strongly about that. I mean, there's enough signage on this building where.
And did we want to add additional signage in the rear to direct to the front? That should probably be part of the signage program, rather.
Well, we can ask them if
They
that's
wanna do
something
it,
they
that's
want.
fine, yeah.
And we could just state that, all,
Just know
all
we-
directional signage shall be consistent in terms of lettering styles.
Okay. Okay, let me open it back up and see if, is there anyone that wanted to come up and, I guess not, okay, let's close it up. Let's go. All right,
Okay.
Right.
Uh,
let's vote on it.
Okay, but before we vote, actually, on the
This
two design review
mitigation.
board projects, we actually need the board to take a look at the mitigated negative declaration that was prepared by staff, and that was included as part of your staff report. And we would need to adopt that prior to making a decision on the two design review boards.
Okay, I didn't see anything in there.
It's this one right here.
It's pretty standard.
The mitigation measure, that was, the only mitigation measure dealt with the underground storage tanks and that there be soil remediation because the existing site at the corner is a gas station. That's the only comment that we had, pretty much.
That's pretty standard, yeah.
So with that, is there a motion to adopt the mitigated negative declaration 2009-015?
I move so.
I second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Palmer, a second by Board Member Aliano. Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Aliano?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. With the comments,
Before we vote on the motion, I have one more clarification to ask on the comments. There appeared to be some confusion about the metal screening at the rear. Is that something you want to require a detail for to make sure that's adequate screening?
I think that's something that staff should see before.
As long as they call it screening, because it's called out as wrought iron.
Called out as wrought iron, it's a
fence
little
you see right
unclear,
there. I think
so...
it should be a screen, a metal louvered screen of some sort so that the units are not visible from the neighbors. to the-
Okay, so we'll require a detail be reviewed by staff prior to building permit
Oh, yeah,
issue.
wrought iron frame with some kind of mesh or something. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Now, you guys were discussing amongst yourselves, so I'll open it up and then give you a minute to see if you wanted to comment on the things that we've talked about. And if you could state your name and address, please.
I'm David Neiman, 1101 East 18th Street. Thank you for your kind approval so far. The only question we had, since we wanted to be inviting for everyone and for the signage to be visible, would it be all right with the panel if we do not have trees on our own side as a whole, since there are already trees onto the street, so that it doesn't give it a park atmosphere and more of a retail atmosphere, considering there's not going to be a pole signage? Because if the pole signage is not there and the trees are there, there's no way the tenants could be visible, and we want their viability and their longevity there.
Well, that planter, if you make something nice out of that planter, I suppose.
I think they're required to have the planter just from a square footage.
Yeah, they have to have so much
Right.
landscape.
I actually think the tree would look nice, but
Yeah.
I think we could leave it up to them.
Well, it's a signage issue, I understand their issue,
And considering we are elevating the back wall by about half a foot along, can't that be part of the landscaping that we're increasing in the back so that we can eliminate some in the front?
The wall and the landscaping are two different
Okay.
issues.
Good try, though.
But we talked about raising the wall a foot, right?
Right, no, well, not a foot, there was
Half a foot.
half a foot, correct.
5 foot
So from
six.
5.5 foot as required by code to 6.
So you guys will rework the landscaping area in there.
If it's all right
with
for
no
us to
tree.
not have it so that it's more inviting and not
I'm
so
okay with that,
claustrophobic.
I'm fine.
It's going to be pretty dark there anyway.
Yeah.
Are we saying not have the landscape area? You just said the tree.
No tree.
No
No tree, and if possible with you guys, not have that mini little planter in there
That
anyway.
would be up to staff as far as what the minimum requirement.
Okay.
Is there enough landscaping if they take that out?
That's what I'm wondering.
No,
I
right?
don't,
But I don't think
I don't
think that planter would take away from seeing the signs.
Okay, no, not the planter per se, but
Tree.
the trees, and I thought the planter, maybe if they're pedestrians walking, it's more inviting to have a larger area rather than, having this in the middle for everyone to walk around.
Well, if you could work it out so you have the proper amount of landscape
Yeah, that's fine.
and reconfigure it, that's fine. You just need a minimum amount.
So
So
the-
I don't think we object to moving that planter.
Yeah, but I think the question is, could the trees on the project site be eliminated altogether?
Only one.
Okay, so
Yeah.
one tree could be eliminated from the
Middle.
project
Yeah, the
site.
one in the middle.
Wait,
Okay.
I'm sorry, because forgive me, right
No,
now
no.
there's
We moved it
there's
from
two.
2 to 1, and then now we're eliminating that one.
That one,
Both
so,
front trees.
well, at this point in time, according to the landscape plan,
These
There
are
are-
going to stay.
okay,
We'll get it figured out.
There are actually 4 trees proposed. There's 2 in the corner, and then 2 adjacent to the
we were talking
plan.
about
Just talking about the two.
So you're going to,
Two sycamore trees.
You're okay eliminating the 2 sycamore trees.
And as long as we have the street ones here.
Okay, so you'd be eliminating these 2 sycamore trees, but then maintaining the 2 trees that are proposed in the corner location.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what they want to do. But I think their main concern was these blocking signs.
We're not going to put those there
They
either.
want this sign. They want the pole sign.
Okay, they
That's
will-
what he's trying to do.
Right, but you understand that the pole sign is being eliminated.
No, he's trying to say he wanted it
Okay,
back.
well, unfortunately, it seems that
not
from
what
my
he said.
consensus, the board is going forward with eliminating the pole sign. They will not be able to have a pole sign, but you would have 2 street trees and no trees in this location
Right.
on the private property. Is that,
that's okay with the board?
that's okay with the board?
Thank you.
Well, are you okay with that? What do you think,
I'm
Jim?
okay with
I'm
it.
okay with that, as
Because
long as the
there's
landscaping
enough-
is provided that.
As long as they have that planter and they have those
Not
2
blocking
trees.
it.
Yeah, because
I mean,
that's a lot of
I would prefer
trees
one
anyway.
tree, but it's not a big deal.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, so we got
As long as
that
they have
cleared up.
those street trees.
We're keeping the 2 that are on this side.
Correct.
The 2 that were here that we had combined into 1, we're okay with eliminating as long as the planter area is made up there or made better, I guess, because right now they have tree wells, and so that'll need to be adjusted.
And one of the conditions that we heard clearly but neglected to read back is that the opening shown in the curved parapet should be eliminated. And we heard that clearly from the board.
Right, I think you talked about that.
Did you? Okay.
The little squares.
Yes, correct.
Right.
The punched hole openings are to be eliminated. Okay, with that said,
Okay.
this would be for the building.
Well, let me close it back
Only.
up so we can vote. Close the public session. Okay.
I would move we approve based on the conditions.
And comments, yeah.
Okay, I have a motion made by Board Member Palmer,
Second.
by Board Member Eliano. In terms of roll call, Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Eliano?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. And now in regards to the sign program. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve and eliminate pole sign.
Okay. Oh. And a second by Board Member Eliano? Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Eliano?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Congratulations.
That concludes all of the projects on tonight's
Thank you.
agenda. We have 2 sets of minutes for adoption. Those would be the minutes of September the 17th and the minutes from October the 15th. And the ones from the 17th, I'm sorry, from October the 15th, correct. Did you not receive the ones from October the 15th?
I only got one set of minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there were 2. Thank you.
I have 2 sets of minutes.
Sent out. Yeah, I remember.
They were emailed.
You didn't get the second one?
Thank you.
The 15th one you didn't get?
I got the
I don't
one.
have any objections. I was there on that one.
Yeah, everyone was here for both, so. Oh, no, there was one person absent for the 15th.
Oh, I did get that, yes. Are you asking for comments?
You
on
okay with
Move
this
for
one?
approval.
I'm sorry, it'd be not September the 17th, it's actually September the 3rd that were carried over. And those were sent as corrected
Right.
based on the comments
These were the
made by
ones
Board
that-
Member
that you
Palmer.
have made comments on, right?
That's fine. Those-
Correct. So do I have a motion to correct those or to adopt those corrected minutes?
I would move to adopt.
I
Thank you,
second.
Board Member Palmer.
Second.
And a motion made by Board Member Palmer, a second by Board Member Eliano. Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Eliano?
Yes.
And Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. And now the minutes of October the 15th?
Is that what this one is?
That one, yeah.
I have one question.
Yes.
On page 2, number 4, where we said the planters need to be deeper, didn't we eliminate one planter wall? It was like 2 planters separated by a retaining wall. I thought we eliminated that and then just the planters go down into the natural soil.
I do remember there was the comment made by the elimination because the plant,
It had 2
It had
walls,
2.
and we eliminated those, and just made one wall and it going down.
I think that there were actually still 2, there was one planter up above and then there was another planter up above that where the
We
landscaping
talked
was
about sloping it.
sloping it, correct. But if you'd like, we can have the case planner Jaleh review the tapes and
I'd
get
like
back
to,
to you.
because I think we,
Okay.
I think we told them they could have 2, but they need to be a lot deeper, or one that encompassed whatever.
The planters need to be deeper to allow landscaping as shown. Make the planter face as rustic as possible to blend with the natural landscape by introducing the earth tone color in the planter concrete. The planters need to be deeper to allow the landscaping
but I
shown.
think we also need to stay, or eliminate the one and create a slope as suggested.
One of the planter walls.
But I don't think,
That wasn't a condition that you...
no, but I don't think we,
As I recall, that they could not make it necessarily work for code to eliminate one of the walls because of the height. So I think that if we required them to eliminate one of those walls, that would have been difficult by code. So I think if we clarify to them that they are allowed to remove one of the walls, then that will reflect how the conversation, that will better reflect what the conversation.
okay, where it says here to be deeper, we really haven't decided deeper, and right now they're a foot, so if they could be put into natural soil, I think that's what
Yeah,
Right.
that is what that's what we should have conveyed.
So is that clear?
We'll
Now?
change the conditions so that it reads into the natural soil rather than deeper.
Okay. So we'll hold off on this one then? Or are we going to?
You can approve it as conditioned.
Approve it as amended, so that
Okay,
it
so
would
we'll
be-
make that change to it and then we'll approve it. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Move we approve as amended.
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Palmer, and again a second by Board Member Oliano. Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Oliano?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
The motion passes 3-0. That said, I don't have any other staff announcements. There are none. Is there a motion to adjourn?